What's up guys, Robert Optimal Bodies. So as you can see, you don't have to look at me today, but we're going to keep it all on the whiteboard today so you can see all the information we put on today. So I'll try not to talk too much as we can work our way down the board, but this is basically part 3 of the 3-part series of the Carb Nite diet, or a periodic refeed of carbohydrates to maximise fat loss, health, muscle mass or maintenance, or whatever your goal may be. This always seems to be applicable to about 90% of people. So if you go back and watch the first 1 and 2 videos, you'll see we made a shopping list of foods to have in the house, so you can see all the information about that for a high fat, low carb diet. And then part 2 was the fun part on how to implement it into your schedule and how to have the carbohydrates and make them fun to your advantage, keep it sociable, and you can eat your treats, and just explain why it works, how it works, and what you can do. But that ain't enough information for everybody. So we always hit this plateau. So this is what part 3 of the video is hitting a plateau. And it's not just for this diet. This can be applied, a couple of points can at least can be applied to any sort of diet. A plateau is going to be hit. And it's usually because of your metabolism adapting to the diet, or you just might be doing a couple of things wrong which worked in the start, but now you need to tweak them as your body's adapted. So we're going to go for part 1. So as you can see here, really simple. It might seem obvious, but part 1, or point 1, you're probably eating too much. So what's the solution to this? So you might have been eating not enough before, which puts you in that energy or calorie deficit, which makes you lose weight, but your body will slowly adapt, as we spoke of in part 2 of the video. Metabolism adapts so you don't just waste away. So simple solution, you need to tweak your calories or food total back down, only slightly. You don't want to do it too much. So a good way of doing this, I think, is to use the MyFitnessPal app to calculate your food. Or if you don't want to use that, you just want to be old school, you could just weigh your food and just add it up for a day, maybe a week, 1 or 2 weeks maximum, just to see what you've been eating. Because sometimes you add it up and then you start, if you write it down, it stops you forgetting things that you might have just snacked on through the day, or you might realise that, oh, you've been guesstimating, you thought 100 gram was a little bit bigger than it actually is on the scales. So using the scales and seeing what you're actually having, or the MyFitnessPal app, can actually put it into perspective that you might be having a slightly too much compared to what you thought you were. And then what you can do is simply drop that number, so work out your fat and protein, and maybe take 10 to 20 gram off your fat and protein totals, and do that for at least a week. Let it take effect. It doesn't happen overnight. Do it for a week, maybe 2, and you should see a change. If you don't, then slowly drop it again, and then you can look at the other points if you think you're going too low, that you might fall into a different category. But overall, most people, again, this 90% number seems to come up, probably just eating too much to be able to lose fat. So get it calculated and see how much you're having, and then you can tweak it to your needs, and as you can go from there. Now this one's specific for the carb diet, the Carb Nite diet, or the refeed diet, whatever you want to call it, and that's part 2. So you're probably overdoing it on your actual carb feed. So by the end of the week, you've probably either gone over, so you're in a calorie surplus, or you've just matched what you've been burning throughout the week, so it evens out, if that makes sense. So the Carb Nite, or the carb feed, is very important for spiking metabolism, as it says in part 2 of the video, so go back and watch that if you want more information. But we don't want to have too much that we're just evening out what we'd have had every day if we ate carbs every day. So what's the solution? I think a simple solution, as I recommend, around 3 meals on your Carb Nite. So you might have a dessert or something you've been craving, as I recommended. Then your main meal, you might go out with a friend or a partner, or you might have a homemade meal, something warm, a decent food, and get some carbohydrates in, and then a pudding to finish off. So what I do is I take one of the first or third meals out, so either that first treat or that pudding after. That's so simple, you don't have to calculate or anything like that. You can just take that meal out, but you still get 2 meals of whatever you want basically. And if that's the only thing you're changing, just that meal, do that for 1 or 2 times, so that'll be over 2 weeks if you're having a carb feed once a week, and that'll nicely drop your calories and carbohydrate intake. Or if you don't want to do that, you can, as it says here, you can just increase your exercise, and this will deplete your carb stores even more. So what this basically does is it'll deplete carb stores in your liver and your muscle, so you've actually got room for somewhere for the carbohydrates to go before they're stored as fat. If you haven't depleted your carb stores fully and you start to eat carbs again, there's more chance of this spillover effect and storing as fat. And as you'll see in the tips, I'll explain the type of exercise that's best to do. Okay, now you might fall into this category. Your body fat percentage might be low or too low for the once a week refeed to work. So I'd say this for people below around 10%. So if you can see your abdominals easily, you've got really lean, you might have some veins in that area, or like you might see striations, which are muscle fibre definition, those sort of things. And you're feeling a bit depleted, maybe about 3 or 4 or 5 days after your carb feed, and before you were managing to make it through the week quite easily. And this is completely normal. So as your body fat gets lower, you secrete less leptin, and as we spoke of in the last video, leptin is what signals your body of how much energy you have on board. So as the energy gets less, the metabolism just slowly adapts and lowers, and that makes sense, otherwise you'd waste away. So we need to keep that leptin level higher. So if you're having your carb feeding and then your body fat's really low, after about 3, 4, 5 days your leptin level might have decreased, and then your body fat will slowly, your loss will reduce. So we need to boost it back up. So I recommend, I'd say around, from client feedback and my own feedback, instead of every 7 days, I'd go 4 or 5 days between your refeeds. So you might go Monday, you might have some carbs, and then you might go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday. Friday or Saturday you might put carbs back in again, and then you count another 4 or 5 days from then. This will keep your leptin level higher for longer, and then if you start to struggle on this, then you can go back to point 1, or point 2, you might be having too much when you're having the carbs. But more often than not, if you're struggling when you're getting really low, it's because your leptin level's dropped, which means your metabolism's dropped. So you just need more refeeds. So well done you, because it gets more fun. You've earned it, you've worked hard to get to that body fat, so you can have carbs more often. And then another point after this, you might need to have carbs even more often than that, which is a completely different program, but I'm going to make future videos about that. So if you think you fall in that category and this doesn't seem a good enough solution, then just drop me a message and we can discuss what's best for you. Okay, so they're the 3 main points, and I've also put some tips at the end. So just a simple one is, you might be getting too much of your food from cheese and nuts. So, and if you think you are, then that means that you're probably having them, it means that you're probably having them as your main source of protein and fat, which shouldn't be. They should just be seen as a little side portion of food, just with a main meal. So maybe your meat or your eggs or your bacon, something like that. Because cheese and nuts, even though they fall into a good food to have for protein and fat, they're very calorie dense, so that means there's a lot of energy in a small amount, so you can easily overeat them. So that'll take us back to point 1. You're probably having too much. You can calculate the foods, and if you don't want to just calculate, I'd recommend taking the cheese or nuts out for, again, 1 or 2 weeks, let it take effect, as this could be just popping you over that calorie surplus mark and reducing your body fat loss chances. But I wouldn't just take them out, I'd swap them for a couple of teaspoons of coconut oil, which is the main reason for this. You're probably going to have less calories than they are in the cheese and the nuts, so that's why it can work. And also, they contain MCT, medium chain triglycerides, as put here, which is a fast absorbing fat, and if the fat's absorbed very quickly and it's available, your body will make ketones from it. And the good thing about this is you provide lots of energy, but it is quite wasteful calorie wise and fat burning wise to make the ketones, so they're quite inefficient to make them, which is great. So you use a lot of energy and fat stores and food you've eaten just to make the ketones, so it's a good way of causing a little calorie deficit in that case. Okay, and then we went to having room for these carbs to go in. So if you see this point, we're going to resistance train or do some high intensity interval training, cardio or HIIT cardio. So if you go back to my previous videos about cardio and things, that'll be in great detail. We're not going into much detail about that. But basically these 2 forms of training, so weight training and some sort of sprinting, or you're going all out on the bike really fast, high intensity for a short amount of time with long rest periods, that is shown to use a lot of carbohydrates. So it makes sense, we're depleting the carbs from muscle and liver, and then you can afford to have more on the actual carb feed without spilling over. So that's a good way of making sure you're depleted. So adding in some resistance training. Maybe you're doing 1 or 2 days, so maybe add another day in, or if you're doing none at all, maybe up to 3 days a week if you can manage it. So go by how you feel. And the last one, really simple, spoke of this before in videos, we're going to skip breakfast. And the main points about this is when you wake up in the morning, your cortisol level's really high, your growth hormone's high, which are both excellent at burning fat, and for the growth hormone side it's great at maintaining your muscle mass. And the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism is, the higher your fat burn is, and the better we look in general. And it's really good for health, it's showing in the research. So just holding off eating for maybe 2 or 3 hours in the morning. So say you get up at 7 ready for work, you might eat straight away. Try hold off maybe till, if you can have something at 9 o'clock when you might have just had a snack, that can be as your first meal. Or some people wait just until lunch, and it takes a few days to get used to it, but once you get used to it, you stop getting hungry in the morning. Or you can just replace it with maybe a warm drink. So if you like coffee or tea, I'd have them black or with almond or coconut milk, and you can have a teaspoon of coconut oil in that if you want. That can really help for satisfying cravings, as coffee is great at increasing certain compounds that stop hunger, so they're called cholimomimetics. So basically it's great for stopping those hunger cravings, and then you just get used to it. So those are all the points, as you can see here. So you can take a picture of that if need be, or you can pause it and go back and look over those. I think those are the simple points that are going to help you overcome that plateau and keep you burning fat and increasing health and building or maintaining muscle, whatever your goal is. So thanks for listening. This is Rob, sponsored by Damn Fitness, so check them out at damnfitness.com, some great clothing. Please like and share my page, invite others to Optimal Bodies, and drop me a message if any of this is too complicated, or you don't think you apply to any of these points, or you've tried them and you want some further information. Okay, thanks for listening guys, cheers.